So we had done a part of cross sections earlier. So I'm going to again revise, but if I do miss out a part of it, do let me know. Basically, what happens in cross sections is any product. So let's say we have this as a product. It's a pen cap, obviously. You have to chop it. Let's say I decide that I need to chop it over here. Okay, so basically I'll take the knife and I'm going to go down this way. Now when I do this, the surface of the knife is going to touch certain parts and it's not going to touch certain parts. So let's first draw this pen cap. So because it's obviously a circular piece, I am going to start with a rectangle and I'm then going to convert it into a cuboid. I have a circle over here and then I have a slightly geometric shape over here, so I'm just going to keep it like that, but the rest of the pen cap is constructed over here. So let's say that is how the pen cap looks. Now always remember, any material that you have, even paper, it has a thickness, and if you notice, even this has a thickness. So what will happen is you have a shape over here and that shape has a thickness to it which continues throughout. Now I may choose to, let's say I'll make this darker so that you can see it better. This is how the shape looks. That is how your product's thickness looks. This product has some geometric shape thing going on over here. So we're just going to create a basic shape and then it has a circular cap and somehow something like this. Now I'm choosing to cut on this part. When you cut here, this part falls off. What you remain with is what you need to draw. Similarly, if I cut this, the top part needs to be removed, because if I remove the bottom, then technically you will still see the same thing. So you always remove the part under which you actually get to see the actual part. So if I were to cut here, which means also over here, because the knife will obviously go downwards, what will happen is you are basically cutting over here. So if you cut over there and you cut through, then you will see a circle and you will see a thickness of the circle. Now in the middle of the thickness of the circle, there's air. So obviously the knife is not really touching the product. So what it ends up touching is only this thickness. Now the same way, if let's say I chop it like this, which means I put the knife over here and I decide to go along like that. So I'm taking this piece, and if I can hold on to this blade, which has gotten stuck to the table for some reason, okay, and I choose to cut it down like that, which means I will also cut it down like this. So now what will happen is I am cutting the piece down like this, and because there is a thickness over here, I will also cut it down here, which means I will get a semicircle over there and I will end up onto the other side like this. So this is what I end up seeing. Now in this shape, the top part needs to be removed, which means you will end up seeing this, you will end up seeing that, you will end up seeing the front. So this part is actually the back, that curve is this curve, this is this part, and let's say it comes somewhere till here, which means over here you end up seeing a semicircle that goes and matches over there, and this semicircle that comes and matches somewhere over there. So this part will obviously need to be constructed further, and that is what you end up seeing. Now in this, what happens is, or even in that, to figure out how cross sections look, whatever the knife touches needs to be shaded. And by shading, I mean that you take a scale and at equal distances you make a diagonal set of lines. They will not be straight lines, they will be at a sloping angle, so you construct them like this. So if I have to look at it closer, then that is how it would look. The knife is not touching on this side, obviously it's going straight, so whatever it touches needs to be shaded. Similarly, if we take this part, this frontal part gets removed, and what you end up seeing will obviously be a circle with a thickness and maybe the back of the cap as well, which means if this is the front circle and that is the thickness of the circle, you will see this along with the diagonal lines going across the shape. That means that the knife cut it and you ended up seeing that, and you are seeing this part. But do also keep in mind that when you're working with cross sections, usually after cutting you only show the view in which it has been cut. So that means that when you cut, you will actually end up seeing just the circle with the shaded view. If you cut, you only see that top part. So what will end up happening is that this is going to look like a circle with a circle within it, which is your concentric circle, and then this whole piece has been shaded like that. That is how this will look. And for this, you will end up seeing a shape that looks like this. You will also see that part because that has been cut through as well, so this surface. But this is the only part where the knife touched. So if you look at this pen cap, and let's say I cut it along this line, and the same thing on the other side, if I look at it from the top and you can imagine the top part missing, then you will see the wall thickness, you will see the depression, but you will also see this line because that's the end of the pen cap. So that is how you end up seeing it.